Hello, this is Julie with Book of Hours. It's January 9th in the afternoon, probably around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, East Coast time. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that have been sort of coming down the pike. So, the Green New Deal, what I want to do is refer you to Dr. Naomi Wolf, who is the CEO of the Daily Clout. She has spent an hour going through the document herself and detailing the legislation. And so I think that it's really important that you subscribe to the Daily Clout and you subscribe to anything that Dr. Naomi Wolf has to say about the Green New Deal. Basically, all of my suspicions have been confirmed. The Green New Deal is further legislation to allow a very small group of people to override the Constitution and override constitutional protections. It's requirement for smart cities to start popping up and requiring for people in their homes to have things like smart meters and 5G and things like this that have been known to be detrimental to human beings and to the life and health of human beings. So I think that, the best that I can say is that you should go to the Daily Clout and you should watch the video that Dr. Naomi Wolf has published and produced. It's a 50-minute video, so that's 50. It's almost an hour long, but I think that it's incredibly important for all of us to understand what exactly the Green New Deal really is, what type of legislation it really is. And to just put it plainly and to sort of summarize my opinion about it and what I believe that I'm hearing from Dr. Naomi Wolf is that the Green New Deal is an opportunity for 15 people to override the Constitution and also to force sort of this smart technology into our lives very invasively and to force it into our lives by law. So the Green New Deal will be presented as something that is pro-environment. It'll be presented as something that is good for the economy. There's also legislation in there or verbiage in there that talks about how it will actually make some very wealthy people even wealthier. So how is that good for the economy? We already have a worsening economy. So again, this is where, I want to trail off into a more philosophical discussion or at least commentary about how important it is to understand exactly what it is we're being presented, and to really put on our thinking caps, to go back to my preschool teacher when she used to say, "Okay, we're going to put on our thinking caps now. Everybody gather around." So, this is the kind of stuff that we really need to understand what it really truly is and who it really benefits. That is the question that you can ask throughout everything in life, whether it's, if you're having an argument with your child about something, ask yourself who benefits. Who benefits from this argument, from this conversation? Who benefits from this piece of legislation? And from what I can see, from where I'm standing, and based on the information that Dr. Naomi Wolf provided, in her hour-long discussion, when she broke down the Green New Deal piece by piece, line by line, she broke it down, and she presented it in such a way that it's like, my takeaway is clearly this is about forcing us into smart technology, which we have to pay attention. Pushing and everybody loves her because everyone in America loves to look at cute, pretty things. And that's really what Ocasio-Cortez is there for. She is the decoration, to dangle this piece of legislation out in front of us and make us think that it's something good for us when it's actually something very bad. So do not be fooled. Do not be manipulated. Do not allow your emotions to be manipulated by the media and by the legislation that's being presented. This is actually very draconian legislation. There are a few pieces in there that Dr. Naomi Wolf said, yes, this is good. This actually is good for the people. I can get behind this. I understand this. But for the most part, it sounds like it's a piece of legislation to make a very few amount of people have way too much power to be able to override and usurp the Constitution. If you believe in a representational democracy and you believe in the Constitution, then this is something that should be really concerning to you. This is something that you should be talking about. You should be emboldened to talk about this. When people start championing the Green New Deal, then what you need to do is bring in that sense of critical thought to the conversation, to be able to talk openly about what it really is. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is pure entertainment. This is pure entertainment value. This is not based on any kind of serious discussion or any kind of serious research or anything like that. It's purely entertainment. This is regarding the envelopes that were found in the programs at the George H.W. Bush funeral last month. So a few weeks ago, there was the big funeral for George H.W. Bush. It was televised, it was publicized, and certain people at the funeral were leafing through their programs. And as they were leafing through the funeral programs, because, a funeral program for someone of that level in the state, they're usually 20, 30, 50 pages long. So as they were leafing through these programs and just kind of going in the funeral program, these little envelopes were stuffed inside the program. And so certain people did receive the envelopes. They opened up the envelopes and they read what was inside the envelopes. Now, the people that received the envelopes, or that we saw receive the envelopes, were Hillary Clinton, Barack and Michelle Obama, Joe Biden, I believe Al Gore received an envelope. So certain people who were heads of state at one point or another in their life received an envelope. And the reaction to what was in the envelope on the little card was one that was really distressing. Barack Obama, he kind of frowned a little bit. Hillary Clinton looked a little surprised, but not too easily moved or dismayed by what she read. The Bidens, however, they had a real strong reaction to the envelope. And I know that Laura Bush read something that George Bush had written down. He wrote something down, and then when the casket was in front of him, and you couldn't really tell, but you could see that he handed her over what he had written down earlier on in the service, and she read it, and she went from being kind of pleasant and smiley to suddenly extremely distressed. She showed the envelope to Jeb Bush, and I'm about ready to lose batteries, so I'm going to probably wrap this up soon. So she showed the envelope to Jeb Bush, and he went ashen. So regarding that, who knows? I'm just saying that this is really interesting. I think that this ties into the economy. I think that the envelopes may have said, sell your shares, dump your assets, shore up your investments, because we are about ready to go into a crash. Now, some people say that the crash is not going to happen for quite a while. Some people are saying it may happen as soon as the end of this month. I'm trying I believe that it's going to happen sooner than later. I don't know if it's going to happen at the end of this month, but I do know that those people that did receive the envelopes at the George H.W. Bush funeral, that they've been dark on Twitter. If you go to their Twitter accounts, the last time that they actually posted on Twitter was around the 20th of the month, which was like the day after or so, the day after the funeral. So suddenly they're no longer on Twitter. They're not tweeting anything, which is really rare. No Happy Christmas, no Merry Christmas, no Happy New Year, just some really generic stuff that was like right around the 20th and then gone, then nothing. So I find that that's also very, very peculiar and very interesting, because I'm on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I'm on Twitter. So I go to their Twitter pages. I don't follow them, but I go to them every once in a while to see what sort of garbage that they're, trying to spew. And I don't see anything for at least 2 or 3 weeks, which is really odd for Barack Obama not to tweet, which is really odd for Michelle Obama not to tweet. It's really odd for Laura Bush not to tweet about her foundation. It's really odd for the Bidens not to tweet and, throw Trump under the bus and all that stuff. So I find that this is really interesting. And I do believe that right now what they're doing, in my opinion, is they are, they're probably going through hearings. They're probably being questioned about things. Some people are saying, ooh, they're on their way to Gitmo. No, rich people don't go to Guantanamo Bay. It just doesn't happen. But they might, they might be in some kind of uncomfortable position, like they might have gag orders on them. They might be shoring up their assets right now. They might be dumping their stocks, things like that rich people do when we're about ready to have a crash. So that's something that you want to think about. You want to think about the $21 trillion that's gone missing. You want to think about the fiat currency. The United States is creating currency, but then there's nothing to really back it up. We're not generating, we're not producing anything to back up the value of the American dollar. So we are falsely inflating the American dollar. So when that happens, then you teeter into a crash. And then when you have this income disparity in our culture, which is where a very few amount of people, they get all of the wealth while the rest of us are scrambling for a penny. Billions of us have to try to make a penny, stretch out among us. So we're talking about some serious economic depravities here, which is going to lead us into another crash. And unfortunately, I believe that the crash is going to be worse than what we saw in the 1930s when it was the Great Depression. So we're headed in there. We're actually running towards it full steam ahead. So, and nobody's really questioning it because people are looking at, things like Ocasio-Cortez's dance video from when she was in high school or college or something, or people are busy yakking about the wall and talking about, we do need a wall, we don't need a wall, whatever. The wall conversation is nothing more than a distraction. I didn't listen to Donald Trump's speech last night. I don't typically listen to what statesmen have to say. If they're not talking about how we have a massive income disparity, if they're not talking about the $21 trillion that went missing from the Pentagon, if they're not talking about the fiat currency, which is, again, currency that is falsely created and given a false value, then there's really nothing to talk about, in my opinion. What else is there to talk about? We're about ready to head into an economic crash. That's the only thing that the president should have been addressing.